Hey, hi. So, hi, fellow Liberians. It's good to be back on live this afternoon from the United States. I'm in the New Jersey area, and I just want to be glad to be on the line today for melting pot, right? The discussion that has to do with issues that developing in Liberia, situations and circumstances unfolding, and where Liberians can be a part of the conversation in our governance issues. So there are basically, and I'm your host actually, Dr. Clarence R. Pearson. So if you view me by way of Facebook, I say please share this live, whether you're on the live or you are going to come across this video later on. Please share this video, right? And if you're viewing by way of LinkedIn, yeah, if you want to friend me, I will look you up and I will return the friendship. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel and I'll return the subscription, right? I'll subscribe to you back. So it's a win-win situation. But today we're discussing Liberia as usual. The melting pot is where we Liberians within the diaspora all over the world, we encourage ourselves engaged in how our country is being run for the mutual benefit of all of us. And it's a fact that governance is not going to happen in a vacuum of if the people, the citizens are not participatory in the process, right? So for us to remain engaged in the process, we have to keep finding ways that we can uh, continue to be within the conversation as they are developing. So please share this live. So I will be discussing three topics for today. Three topics. We want to talk about the JMB President Joseph Yoman Boyka owning luxurious vehicles, the context of dire economic situation in the country, poverty, and all of the kind of thing. We want to have that conversation briefly. And in that same line of the conversation, we want to talk about the Liberia Council of Churches uh, being drawn into the conversation. And then the last topic for today, we want to talk about the darkness at the RIA, the Rabat International Airport. So yes, the Rabat International Airport went into darkness the other day when passengers were trying to enter the country, and for some reason there was a power outage that resulted into what some are calling hazardous situation for travel and passenger not being able to get their stuff right, and they have to be told to go and come back to get their stuff. So let's have that conversation. So we don't have luxury of time, so let's go into the conversation um, directly. So let us talk about President Boakai procuring two Lexus 2025 700 plus series, fully upgraded and bulletproof. So I know the argument has been around the issue of the cost of the car, which is important. It is important considering the financial constraint of the country. It is important, but it becomes even more important when you look at the conversation within certain dynamics, and I will bring them up one at a time. The first dynamic you want to look at the conversation in is the opinion that we must first of all clarify that the presidency of any country, including Liberia, deserve a level of protection, if not the best, but I mean a measured level of protection. And I use the word measured on purpose, right? And I will tell you why. A measured level of protection. At the same time, the president's office requires or needs to have some level of dignity. So when you look at that in context of this conversation, we will say every country will seek to make sure that their leaders are protected, from any form of external threat or harm, whether from citizens, political opposition, especially talking about the presidency, or from even external forces that are targeting the president for whatever reason. We don't want to speculate whatever the reason will be, but the president deserves to be protected. So that is not in question. That is not a comment for debate. So with that out of the way, the next context that comes into consideration in this conversation is what our people would tell us when we're coming up with a much smaller person. I believe maybe President Bokaf told his children this before, because it is a common saying in Liberia, say, cut your coat according to your measurement. Our old people say, cut your coat according to your measurement. When they told us that, what it meant to us was that you have to live within your means. And when they tell you live within your means, they're saying, let's say, for instance, you working, right? You employ, and your monthly salary is $500, $596, and you're working there. Whatever you are going to do as a person, as a family, as an individual, whether you're renting, you're going to school, you want to go to the market, you need whatever security, whatever you need to do to better your life, or to cater for yourself as an individual, you need to live within your means. So that statement means you budget and you plan around your financial strength. Thank you for joining. Please share the show. So in the context of that, when you look at the precedent, first of all, the first information that came out is that there was an appropriation for $1.2 million to be used to purchase vehicles for the presidential vehicle. And the argument, the concern at the time was for both the president and the vice president. And when that conversation came up, a lot of us joined this conversation to say, listen, there's no problem with the issue about the security of the presidency. Because when I say the security of the presidency, I'm trying to say that it doesn't matter who is there. It's not, but like I said, you need to cut your coat according to your measurement, your size, right? So when you are a president of a country that is ranked the eighth poorest country in the world, a country over as president, like in the instance of President Boyka, where he is on record for telling voters and for telling Liberians that for too long the country has suffered and the people have not benefited from the natural resources of the country. They have not benefited from the wealth of the country. They have not benefited especially their government, and how the government is managing what the country has, the little resources the country has. So he made that argument. He also argued that there were people who had children on the streets and were selling and not in school and all of these things. So he mentioned there's no electricity, there's no transportation, there's no roads, there's no safe drinking water. He mentioned so many different things as a candidate for president. So he also was one of those amongst the opposition who argue to get to become president on the backdrop of that. People who were running the country, President Weah and others, former President Weah and others, even Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, that he says he was 12 years vice president, did squander opportunities that could better the lives of ordinary Liberians. And now he comes to say that Liberians are poor, Liberians are suffering, Liberians are in dire state of being rescued. Not only that, but upon taking office, he even went as far as suspending his own, or not suspending because he didn't take that action, but putting pressure on his government officials not to drive or ride in expensive vehicle, one would think that a leader with such progressive mindset and concern and caution for past abuse of public resources, past misappropriation of public resources, that you would think that the president would say to himself that I will be moderate. I will be moderate. Even, let me put it this way, right? Even if the president needed to ride a luxurious vehicle as president of the Republic of Liberia, let's just assume he needs that. But on the backdrop of what you were inheriting, what you said you were meeting there, and how damaged it was, and how bad the lives of the people were or are, and you coming to rescue them, you would have thought that the president will say that maybe the first 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, the emphasis will be the people. The emphasis will be the people. Bringing the people from that dire state that I think I saw before they made me president and cross them over into a state. I'm not saying the country would change dramatically in 3 years, but you would take them from that what you call quote unquote water, drainage, and toilet. That you would take them from that initial place of degradation and bring them to a place of some level of stability or some level of, appreciable improvement. Then you can now start to focus on the other things, like the one we're talking about now, giving yourself luxury and comfort. And this is a betrayal of trust. This is hypocrisy at the highest level. That's why I used an action word, and I called it, if you look at my post before this live came on, when I was announcing the live to come on, I call it reckless opulence of the president. The same opulence that we condemn as opposition. Yeah, I voted for Cummings, right? I did not vote for Joseph Boyka, I must say that. And in the second round, I did not find Joseph Boyka to be a candidate that I could trust. So I voted for the CDC government with the hope that there will be continuity to what they have started. I didn't have any confidence in the Boyka's administration. And I got my reasons. So I must give that disclaimer. But even at the bare minimum, so put me aside, put me one side, and let's just discuss the logic in the level of hypocrisy that when you've come in the opposition and you give a laundry list of things that were wrong, right? And things that were not happening for the benefit of the Liberian people. The opulence of the WIAS administration, the misappropriation of resources, as we put it, of the by the WIAS administration, the lack of leadership, as we put it, from the WIAS administration, from the likes of the opposition. I'm speaking from the likes of the opposition. Like I said, I've waited for Cummings, for Mr. Cummings. So when you look at all of those excesses, and when you put your international statements that you made out there, and you combine those international statements of the local statements that you made to the Liberian people, and say, I see the suffering of the Liberian people that in 4 months, the suffering that you see yourself going through like this, I would have brought you out of that suffering to an appreciable level that you will not be as destitute as you are today. But then you come to power, After the people had trusted you with power, you come, and the first thing you can do is to position yourself in comfort, and the people are still languishing. You people who are United Partisans, you people who are the UPists, you people who are the we agree them, have this tendency of trying to dispel the reality that is available right before our eyes. But the thing about it is this: you can lie about stuff that cannot be physically seen and easily verified. But you cannot lie about stuff that people can see and physically verify. We can see the level of destitution of the Liberian people. We can see when the Liberian government go along the roadside and break the people market stores down, where they are getting the daily bread from, where they are paying the children's school fees from, where they are able to feed themselves from. In fact, there are statistics that say and clearly states that Liberia is the eighth poorest country in the world, and about 90% of our people are vulnerably employed, meaning they're doing all kind of petty trade here and they're doing gardening, all that kind of thing. They may say they employ, but they're vulnerably employed, meaning it's not sustainable for them. They cannot even have a decent meal per day. And I'm a living testimony to that. When we were growing up in Liberia after the civil crisis, our parents go to look for food. We're not eating until about 7 in the evening when everybody waiting around a copa. When they finish cooking by 7 food, eat one meal a day. And that is a reality of over 80% of ordinary Liberians today. And the common people has not been rescued. Not only that they have not been rescued, they have been further impoverished by the current government's decisions. And what are some of the decisions? Let's some of the decisions. We are forcibly removing people, businesses, from where they are doing their petty trades, right? And in some instances, their goods are in those places, those makeshift structures. And while the goods are still there in their absence, the public work ministry is damaging the places and damaging the goods. Even in worst case scenario, those who goods are not even in those vulnerable places that are being destroyed. Those who trying to sell along the streets, when the police even take their goods, there is no remedy for them to get their goods back. The goods are confiscated. Corrupt police officers put the people goods in the back of the vehicle and they escape with those goods, and you cannot find them. They cannot get their goods back. No remedy, no redress. You would think that in a country of laws, that when someone violates the law, you will take the goods, yes, but you will carry it to the police station. There will be remedy, there will be procedure where you can come and you pay fine and you get your goods back and you go sell. And if you do again, the get your goods, you pay fine. There has to be an address by law, not by against the reason. Where you just come and you break the people business stalls down while they are absent from their businesses, and you destroy their livelihood. Now, the problem is not that is just wrong, but telling people you can have makeshift structures in these places or you cannot set along the road. Yeah, everybody wants the countries to look clean and decent and nice. I agree. But what are the constructive mechanisms? What is the constructive strategy? What is it that the rescue team brought to remove this person from point A and then tell them, say, we will take it from point A, we'll carry you and put you at point B, and we expect when we transform you from point A and transform you to point B, you will be at this level, and we expect you to behave at this level. That's what we're talking about. No, you can, no, development by brutality is tyrannic. I hear people say, development can come with pain. Development does not have to come with pain. No. I don't understand why we do the same thing over and over, like Mr. Cummings would say, and expect different results when the past times we did it did not deliver results. We did that same thing early in 12 years with Mary Bro. It did not change the lives of the people. And when we after 12 years, they were still in the condition we left them in. So what can we do differently? That when the government say we have a program that will transform people from in this makeshift structure along the road that they are setting in into a new level that they can start from at a different dimension that will change their lives. What are we thinking to do for the people? I say this because it brings me to President Barker driving two Lexus 2025 700 series, fully bulletproof upgrade with all of the amenities and all of the upgrades that he needed for a top of the line, highest level of cars in that category. President Barker did not with the EPS or the government library did not just go and damage President Barker. Okay, and say we damage it, President will be right. Okay, no, they had it's a clear-cut plan and they put sufficient money, $1.2 million, and say we're going to get the president a new car. If you are going to break the people business stores down because they are already impoverished, that's their level, that's their standard. If you want to improve on their standard, what did you give them before you broke the places down? What did you give them before you tear down their business? What did you give them before you want them to transform from where they are? What did you do to help them? President Boaka, they gave you $1.2 million vehicle before they took the old one from you. What did you give the Liberian people when you're breaking the business stores down? What did you give the Liberian people when when the police people collecting the market in the wheelbarrow and putting it in the pickup pot and carrying to behind the corner or behind the house to go divide it among themselves? What did you give them in return to change their lives? That's the context we're looking at when we're seeing President Boaka transform his entire house, transform his entire life, the kind of shoes he wear, the kind of clothes he's. Everybody know what President Boaka looked like before he transformed himself into what he looks like now. Everybody knew how he looked like. It didn't happen without finances. It happened with physical cash being allocated for his transformation. Why are the Liberian people neglected? Why you luxuriously rebrand yourself? That's the question. There where the problem come with the car. Let's take it further. Not only that, but we're going and we're breaking people homes down that we say are in alleyway over sewage lines and over all the kind of thing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with opening sewage line, opening alleys. But the question goes back to say again, how did you sit down? What mechanism that you think about that my government is a rescue government? So if I'm going to open this alley, the very poor people who voted for me are the same people who living in that alley. It was the bad governance. It was the zero access to the wealth, the zero access to the benefit of the resources that got these people living in that alley. It is the senseless war that we may have fought over the past 14 years that brought people in these alleys. They're squatting on people land, they are squatting on government land. Okay, now we want to remove them. We want to open the alleys. We want to clear corridors. What did we do, President Boaka? What did your rescue government do to tell these people we are about to open this alley, but we now have built you an estate of low housing, maybe 1 or 2 bedroom low housing estates, using the very students that are in the technical vocational training center programs. They built maybe 200 level houses on this side. They built another maybe 600 level houses on the other side in this other vast land. We will take you from this alley and we give you maybe 30 days to move from in your makeshift alleys move from in the line of the sewage lines areas and go to the low housing estates that we've given you, because in fact we got the estates because we put money in that to build it. And your sons and your daughters that went to the vocational training program to learn masonry, to learn electricity, to learn plumbing, are the very ones that build these places because we put money into it. Now we want you to go into there. What will cause you, President Booker, to transform the people's life the way they took the old car from you and gave you a new car? Why can't you give the people a new house before you take them from the alley? Why are you in a hurry to destroy people's lives? And why you are bettering your own life? When they broke past portion of your house down to make it presidential, wasn't it give and take situation? They don't tear down and then put something back there. They just tear down and left it like that and left the people homeless. Why are we doing this to the people of Liberia? Do you know that every time you break somebody market stall down, every time you put somebody market within the pickup bag, the police pick up back and they scan with it, do you know you put people further into poverty? Do you know every time you say you're opening alleyways and moving people on sewage lines without a remedy to their homelessness? Do you know that you're increasing poverty, President Boycott? I'm saying to you, the problem is not that you don't need security. The problem is that when you are getting a new, when you're getting rid of your old car, we give you new car. But when you're getting rid of the people's house in the alley, when you're breaking it down, you don't give them any free house to go in. You don't give them any low housing cost house to go in. When you're taking people market because they're breaking people market store down along the road on the Ghana Junction and other places there in real lighting, when you're breaking people market stores down, you don't give them a market, a decent little shop along the road. Let me tell you something, President Parker. All over the world, even in New York City, the Big Apple, people got market stores along the road. Yes, they do. You go other developed country, you see the same thing as well. There are other places there you may not see it there. So which means cities are different from place to place. I agree. But if it is the condition in which your people find it comfortable to sell, what will happen if you build decent mini stores that looks presentable within those corridors that have the space along the roadside where they can still sell along the road, but the stores are presentable, are decent, manageable, and government can still collect taxes from them. Whether it be Pinsville City collecting taxes from them, or whether it be Monrovia City collecting taxes from them, but we're generating revenue by their being there. But we break these places down, Zogos take over them. We break these places down, they turn into dump stores. What are we doing to I'm not saying we cannot change the outlook of our city, but we should change it strategically. That's what I'm saying here. So when you do these things, President Barker, then you want to make your own life luxurious, but you want to drive people into poverty. That's what we say. It's wrong. It's wrong. And now let me take this conversation further. Let me take it further. So while we discussing President Boyka's reckless opulence, and I use the word reckless for a reason. The word reckless means no careful thought, no design, no critical design behind it. Now, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like those who are along the areas that maybe they want to put road and they say, we come to build road here, so we compensate people for the lands that the road is in. I'm talking about people who they just breaking down people property, breaking down people homes and things and making them homeless without any remedy. Just for clarity, without any remedy. This is what I'm saying. You go to clear sewage line. People build the makeshift houses because they are poor in those areas. What stops you as a president? Look, we gotta be creative, we gotta be developmental. Giving sociology students who are in the different universities there, in the sociology department, what stops you from giving them a little grant to go conduct livelihood assessment. Understand the life and the condition of the poor and why they build it and how they build it. Formality, I agree, it's a formality. Technically, when I say formality, it means you can use a physical eye and look at it and say, oh yeah, I know they're here because they're poor. But no, that you building the capacity of the education just by doing that. Ministry of Housing. I don't know if we ever had that before, but housing ministry, I think maybe way back in history, maybe we had something like that. I don't know any longer. It doesn't make no sense to it doesn't make no sense to me. But maybe who? Mark Jabate, Assistant Minister for Urban Development. Did he partner with any sociological department with any of our universities and say, no, students, I want to put some students group together, giving you a small grant. You're going to do assessment. Why, just for to be documented for documentary purposes, for just to look civilized. There is sociology department Molapatin, small grant for the university or for the college or for LU sociological department. You're going to do small survey within the central city of Monrovia, why people building either way, or why people building with on sewage line, just for the documentation, just for reference. Oh, we did some survey with using professional means through students, just to make our students feel that they are part of developed country like what we are. Right behind us, even to Ghana. The vice president, the vice president of Ghana was sick. She went to the Ghanaian University Teaching Hospital. Ghanaian University Teaching Hospital for care. And then they will recommend her now for further care abroad. University Teaching Hospital. They empower the education, they make the education practical. What will happen if Mark Japate take few hundreds of dollars just for the news in collaboration with the state corporation and say, let the sociology department go do a public, a social survey and study and give us reasons why people building the alley. Of course, they will justify your if you want to raise funds now, if you want to go beg for money, those are other things I use to justify your begging for money as a government. So our the University of Liberia or Monopatin Sociology Department conducted a social service and study about why people building the alley, why people build in over sewage line, all that kind of thing. And the study showed that blah 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 poverty, displacement of the war, whatever the factors that led to that. And then the recommendation from there is that how do we address this situation in a sustainable means, in a sustainable way, probably would be, to build low-cost housing for these people to be relocated. And then the studies with them show that where the areas of preference, if they want to get relocated, what are the areas of preference? The studies also show that the areas of preference, whether Mount Barkley, whether RIA Highway, or whether Banjo area, shows that government does have land available there, or government can buy land available there at this cost. And these recommendations are made to government Liberia for urban development to reduce the population in Central Monrovia. The government is going to build low housing estate at social locations, which is the preference of 80% of those who say they want to be relocated by government, and maybe 30% of them say, oh, they want to, 20% of them say they want to be relocated in Mount Baglisa. 80% say they want to be relocated in Banjasa. All the kind of little things. It sounds like formality, but it empowers the education sector, and also empowers the government to make informed decision, critical informed decision based on documentations for reference. You empower education through research. You also empower government by acting with evidence-based information. These things are taken for granted, but we need them. By the time those students are graduating from university, those who are doing statistics, those who are doing social research in sociology and things, they're coming outside there with lived experience, practical experience with primary survey, primary survey skills, primary statistical skills. No, we gotta be innovative. We gotta be creative. We gotta be holistic. Legis can help with that. Legis can provide support in that same direction I'm talking about. Why our people still want to stay along the road? Yeah, the same thing can happen. Partner with universities in sociology and things. Find it out. understand their plight, know what their preferences are, know what they desiring from their people, from the government. And, have it on. They see the recommendation part of the students' recommendation, or the statistical recommendation from legit supporting students, and, different sociological department that are giving those small grant, not chicken change money then to go do those small surveys. Then you do evidence-based response to urban development. That's what we're talking about. Don't just break people's homes. Don't just grab people with a market. Don't just grab people with barrel and throw it into the vehicle back with no remedy. You do things that at the end of the day, you will have sustainable results. Sustainable results. For instance, ELWA Junction, where they got the roundabout, where you find people really, on a regular basis, will still want to sell on the street because they feel in the mind, the small economic mind, that's where the business will go. That whole space, has anybody really gone there and do a real scientific study of that space and come to understand that yes, we can utilize this space and still allow those people to sell in that corridor, but within dignified structure, whether in a what we call a vertical structure. Meaning, instead of going while it is, you just go up. Maybe the storage stuff that has capacity, where you just have the front, you get a store with the front walking from a small area, but at least everybody can have a little portion that they can rent from the city corporation on that whole stretch. It's gonna look beautiful. It's gonna look beautiful. It's gonna look beautiful that people will not have to be standing on the street with wheelbarrow, but you can climb the stairs and go up there, and then you got people up and up and up and up. Beautiful, they design with around within the same location of that roundabout on the outskirts of it. Like the way you got the people who got money, the rich people, ego store, and they right on the road. Could the same thing happen for the ordinary Liberians, petty traders on the opposite side of them? Can we do that for them? Why is it that we're more destructive than helping? Now let's go to the next part because of time. I thought it was important, so I wanted to emphasize these things more. So yeah, we need to think innovatively. Look, we need to think out of the box. No, there is no glory in getting a front, caterpillar, yellow machine, and going breaking people homes now and see you got power to show that you got power. Breaking people homes down, or you get in car with AK-47, put the police jeep down, pack all the poor food and pack all the poor goods and throw in the car and then drive away because you feel you got power. It does not help the country. It does not take the country anywhere. No, it just shows you got power, but it does not help the country. We have to be strategic. So, President Boyka, you are a disappointment to the people who have faith in you. You are a disappointment to the people who trusted in your earlier conversation that you would have come and transformed their lives. And now they only see you transforming your own life. It is hypocritical. Somebody got to tell you it is hypocritical. Good parents will take care of their kids first before they look after themselves. Oh yeah, the selfish one will say, "No, if I take care of myself, then how will be able to take care of you?" But my mother, when she used to go hustle for food, when it used to be rough in Liberia back in the day, when she come late in the evening, if she didn't get anything sufficient that day, when she cook it, me and my other 6 siblings, we eat. My mom will be saying and looking at us, we eat, and then so now we're feeding Sarah for, but she will let us eat. President Burger, you doing the other way around. You the one eating. The last people not eating. And not only that, you eating Liberian people, not eating, you giving something to Liberian people, then the small one the Liberian people got in their hand, you there breaking it down, you there jacking it from them, you there carrying it in. Then when you come here again, they got to get on the side of the road, you got to pass with 16 cars. I was checking it the other day, 16. Somebody have to park for almost 5 to 10 minutes waiting for you to pass before they can go to the normal business. In developed country, we call it time that money. Nobody who want to do serious business will be waiting on the side of the road when they get a serious business meeting to go attend, waiting side of the road for president to pass before they can go do what they want to go do. Seriously? No. So you got to, look, President Bogalo, you got to step up, man. You got to step up. And then they got down to the Liberian Council of Churches, because I didn't want to spend too much time on this one. Look, Liberian Council of Churches is spineless. And if you look at my topic, you see it there. Spineless. The Liberian Council of Churches, let me tell you something about the Liberian Council. The Liberian Council of Churches was established because we in a religious community at the time wanted to have the clergy within Liberia to have a voice. And the voice we're talking about was not necessarily the voice for the church. Let me get that straight. When the Liberian Council of Churches was being formed, including the Muslim Council, whatever the case, when these institutions were being formed, they were primarily advocacy for the civil rights, the up the upholding of the civil rights of ordinary Liberians, so that they are, someone with integrity, someone with some level of trust and credibility that can come up and raise their voice in their behalf and say, listen, the people of God, the nation deserves better. And let me say, I'm not saying the Liberian Council of Churches, the Muslim, council, whatever the case is, it was not built or established to cater for its constituents, which will be believers, whether Muslim or Christian. I'm not saying what that form to cater for them. Yeah, some will have crusades. We have, like during the war, we have maybe relief supplies if we can get them by lobbying. Yeah, we divide small food here and there, other kind. So yeah, those are part of the. But the primary reason, one of the primary reasons, was to ensure that the church has a voice in the nation. And not just a voice, but a collective voice. Because if it's just for voice, we can do it in our individual churches. Individual voice, we can do it in our individual churches. We can do it from our pulpits. But no, when a political crisis, when there's some level of instability, when there's conflict, then the church, being the moral conscience of the country, or the Muslim council, being the moral conscience of the country from federal spectrum, will come together and move in and provide some guidance, some direction, or some rebuke. I'll use that word, rebuke. Right? And then I hear Dr. Reeves, Reverend Dr. Reeves, say on the radio this morning that, oh, the Council of Churches is a partner with government. I know it's not in our place to do this or do that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm listening, I'm like, really? Dr. Reeves, I think you are afraid of losing your job in the government. Because in my opinion, whoever wrote that piece of literature, granted, the Council of Churches have said it was not done in the name of the Council of Churches. Whoever wrote that piece of opinion spoke the mind of the clergy of the Republic of Liberia. Yes, they spoke our mind. Let me say this. Even though there was no meeting held or for people to come and say, oh, there has to be a formal meeting where the hierarchy of the Liberian Council of Churches can come together and make that decision. But that letter, that communication, let me condemn it for being, done without the acquiescence of the Liberian Council of Churches official clearance. I will condemn it for that. Yeah, but the content express the true mind of the church. Or should I say that content should have expressed the true mind of the church. That's what you, Dr. Reed, supposed to be doing. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what the Liberian Council of Churches is supposed to be doing. And because you did not do that, someone with spine decided to do it to show you what you're supposed to be doing. Because you're spineless. You compromised. When the clergy of the nation now are taking bold chair position, bold members position in public institution, taking other appointed roles in government. You compromise your integrity to speak on these issues because, of course, yeah, they have said to you people, you cannot be in the government and criticize it. If you're in the government and criticize it, then they will fire you. So you don't want to be dismissed. So that's the reason why you guys are sitting down, spineless, sitting down there, cowardly, trying to hide yourself behind conversation like we are partners to government. No, we are just not partners to government. We are the moral conscience of the people of Liberia. And when the government is abusing the people of Liberia, the church supposed to say something. We should have condemned police brutality in King Jaw. We should have condemned police brutality against the MCSS students. We should have condemned police brutality against any civil servants being, wrongly dismissed from office. We should have condemned any Liberian, for that matter, losing a job because of some political reason and not by the rule of law. We should have condemned in the strongest term the usurping of power in the House of Representatives when it comes to the speakership. We should have condemned those things and called them to order. That's what we should have done. No, but we're partners. You partner because you want to get paid. You are partnering because you want to get envelopes. You are partnering because you don't want to get that phone call to tell you, Reverend, why are you making this noise about the president when you know you're working for the government? Oh yeah, when you're on the board of NPA, how can you condemn NPA? When you're on the board of LPRC, how can you condemn LPRC? When you're on the board of LEC, how can you condemn LEC? If you're on the board of RIA, how can you condemn RIA? If you're on the board of any public institution, how can you speak against them? When I say condemn, I'm not saying be rude to them. I'm saying rebuke them. 2 Timothy 2:15. Your own Bible says, all scripture is given by inspiration of God, profitable for correction and also for rebuke and for instruction in righteousness. Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah stood up against authorities. Isaiah stood up against authority. Ezekiel stood up against authority. Stephen, the little deacon, the first deacon, stood up against the authority. Some of them lost their lives, yeah, but they stood up against authority. And God would tell Jeremiah, do not be afraid of their faces. No, but you are not afraid of their faces. You are afraid of your pockets being empty. You are afraid for your pockets being empty. And because you are afraid for your pockets being empty, you look at the Liberian people suffering, you look at the exploitation of our country, and you say, oh no, we partner with government. Partner my fault. Partner my fault. No, it is your pockets, not the partnership. You can Reverend Dr. Reese, I heard you mention, when LCC was established, it was not to condemn government. No, 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 no. And even when Sheikh Kafuma Kone, let me tell you something about Sheikh Kafuma Kone. Sheikh Kafuma Kone was never part of LCC, Liberia Council of Churches. Sheikh Kafuma Kone, he was with the Muslim Council. And then when we all decided to impose, when the civil crisis was going on, we all started putting ourselves together. We organized the interfaith commission or interfaith council. Interfaith. Now I think at some point in time people were not satisfied with that nomenclature, so we swap it to what they call interreligious council. Because we say, oh, faith cannot be inter. So we say interreligious council. So in other words, we say people of all religions can come together and join this group. So we left on interfaith, we went to interreligious council. Sheikh Kafuma Kone was an outspoken voice against the ills of government. He was not compromising. No, he did not compromise his voice by hanging on government money through political alignment. No, no. I'm not saying pastors cannot join or work for government. No, we can. This is your country. Any of us can work for our country. But you see, when you find yourself in a compromised position, the honorable thing to do is to resign, relinquish your position. Don't get me wrong, Reverend Reese, or anybody who knows Reverend Reese and will see this video. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking within context of the coming elections of the Liberia Council of Churches in May. No, I'm not talking about that. I left that Liberian Council of Churches long time. Let me tell you, I left it for the same reason. People started having relationship with political leaders, and then they want to be head of Liberian Council of Churches. So they were compromising the Liberian churches of Liberian Council of Churches. So some of us we just walk away. We walk away. Yeah, so I left it a long time. I was very young when I was a member of the Liberian Council. I was very young, but I actively involved coming out of the civil crisis because I saw the value, the Liberian Council of Churches, they value the interfaith mediation, the value of the interreligious council to our political process. I saw the value as a young man, as a young clergy. So I joined those groups. And Sheikh Kafuma Kanen, it's go in early, go at the University of Liberia, Kofi Annan Institute for Conflict Transformation, go in the library and look at my dissertation on the TRC, the comparative analysis of the TRC of Liberia and Sierra Leone. That my dissertation, that my thesis, rather, master's thesis in Kofi Annan Institute for Conflict Transformation, that my thesis. I literally also was able to sit down with Sheikh Kafuma Kone, peace be unto to his ashes. I sat with Sheikh Kafuma Kone in his living room on the UN Drive back there where he got his house at the UN Drive on the battle around the BTC era there. I sat in his living room. The old man gave me audience with him. I sat to him face to face. And this is one of the things the old man told me in that interview, recorded interview. He said, my son, he said, our country compared to Sierra Leone is not going to find true peace and healing and reconciliation if we are not honest with ourselves. If we're not honest with ourselves. He said, even in the TRC, we face complications because there were members of the TRC that became compromised by the political system. Compromise, and that's the same thing we're discussing here. Shaka Fumakane would have never stood for the things you're talking about, where you want to praise a certain government for taking the people's resources and languishing it upon himself and trying to say, oh no, it's not our role to talk and condemn government or all the kind of thing. Go check our record. We don't tell people to go check our record. People see our record on a regular and daily basis. We're not compromise. But if you want to look, anyone who wants to be in the Liberian Council of Churches and want to be head of the Liberian Council of Churches, then don't be in government. So when you know you're going to work in government, whether a ministerial position or board chairmanship or other kind of thing, then resign. And let people who are not entangled in government run it because they will be able to easily say something that will be strong enough to bring government into check. But right now, what we're saying, you people are silent, you people are spineless, I don't want to go beyond that, but I'll just say spineless. Spineless. And I think that letter you're right talking about making clarification. That letter, that whole letter is a junk. That whole letter is a junk. Complete junk. What are you talking about? It's on our letter here. Oh, the statement did not come from us. The statement did not come from you, but you should have also said that statement did not come from us, but that statement expressed the views of the Liberian people. We condemn this statement because it was not officially released by the council, but we do not oppose the views expressed in it. Why? Because it is the view of the Liberian people that they are being neglected and few individuals are looting the country. Get your way with it. And you want to write a revocation of a sentiment, and then still in the process of trying to retract that sentiment, and then you're trying to say, oh, then you're giving the illusion that all is well. Then that instance that we're talking about is not an issue. Yes, it's an issue. Shit. condemn the person who did it recklessly. But even though that statement was written recklessly, and it was not from us and does not represent us, it was not, no authority was given for that statement to be written. But I think that statement gives an opinion of what the minds of the people are. Where you want to go find whether that's true. Go anywhere. Working Liberia, you find out it's true. LEC, and RIA. So people traveling to Liberia, Brussels entering Liberia, and then the whole airport goes dark. How long have we been having the conversation? How long have we been having this conversation about LEC? I don't understand Liberia. We had this conversation 2019. We had this conversation 2020, 2020, 2020, I think 2020, we had that conversation. 2022, we had that same conversation. I don't understand what is going on with our country. I tell people this, and I'll repeat myself. Every time as a nation that we are addressing situation in the country, we got to try to ensure that when we are addressing situation, we have to address it in a sustainable way. And a sustainable way to address a problem is to ensure that this problem here, since it's existing, if we want to go fix it, let us fix it so that we don't have to come back to it anytime soon. We don't want to come back to it anytime soon. Why do we have a situation in our country where people politicize conversation whole day and talk about, this other person is not doing well for the country, the airport is in darkness? 2022, that Amara Conan, he made a lot of noise about that airport. 2022, about that airport. He complained, oh this and oh that. But after all of the complaint, Samuel 12 got said, oh, in fact, we finish putting money somewhere and we spend some money, we'll buy two generators for standby. Did that really solve the problem? No. We're right back to it. So, and when we argue that time, we say, listen, even if you buy a generator, there's a possibility the generator will break down. And another thing about generator again is that the money you take to spend on that fuel every single time, that money you take to spend on that fuel is going to be too burdensome for the country. The money you take to spend on that fuel is going to be so burdensome on the country. What are far more sustainable ways to solve that problem? So when Americans were making all that noise 2022 because election was coming around now in 2023, so all that noise was happening. Charles Lobo then was causing noise 2019. Moali then was causing noise 2019. Other people causing noise because they want to get to power later on 2020 and things like that. This is the point. Ellis spent a lot of money on this airport to bring it to standard. Former President we got there, we saw a lot of lapses in that investment. We spend new money again on that very airport. I remember at one point in time, Samuel 12 has said that they were putting $25 million into that airport. Can you imagine that? Did somebody tell you that just the fuel we run with those generators at that airport, if we're running generator at the airport, do you know we spend more than 800 gallons of fuel per day or more? I would say or more because they have two generators and maybe in the fluctuation in LEC may vary, so they may need a generator more than. Do you know we spend more than 800 gallons of fuel per day to run those generators? If we were to run it all day. Can you imagine that? You know how much that fuel costs? Do you know, Liberian people, do you know that the highest amount of money we spend as a country in Liberia on export to buy something from outside? You know that fuel we're spending it on? Fuel. Do you know that the money we spend on fuel, if we ourselves decide to build that same quality of dam that Firestone got on Farmington River ourselves, build our own too, to build our own dam on Farmington River, do you know we solve that whole electricity problem for Liberia if we can take that same quantity of money we're spending on fuel, we've been spending it on our airport all this while, would change the whole direction of electricity in that country on that note. Let me ask you another question. Why would it take us to have a solar farm at that airport? All that space we got, all that plenty space we got RIE, all that plenty space. Why would it take us to have a solar farm at RIA? Design. Now listen to me. Listen to me. Listen. Don't get vexed with me. Just listen to me. Design only to feed lighting, not the very heavy electrical needs that we have there. Just emergency lighting. You getting what I'm saying? When I say emergency lighting, meaning if LEC fails, generator fail at the same time, but the solar energy stored within our solar cells, sitting there, our battery sitting there, can put all the emergency lights on the field to get the airplane to land safely and to get people to be able to access their luggages and come out of the airport safely. The airport will have light. Not maybe not running excavator, not running people appliances in the hotel and the other one or running people, freezer. No, I'm just saying bare minimum. I'm just trying to be reasonable. Just bare minimum to just be able to put the emergency lights on the on the field, to have the control tower running, and to have lights in the airport for people to be able to get out of that airport in the case of no LEC, no generator situation. Just a solar farm with cell backing it. What would that do for? Listen, if you go to President Barker house right now, he got solar panel there. I believe so. If you go to majority of our government officials, our so-called government officials, legislators, government ministers, all of them got solar panel to the houses. I want to believe so. But the airport, the airport authorities, that how do you call it? Say that ADC caused our problem. ADC gonna say y'all lie. We got nothing to do with that. That your own thing you did down there, your generator sporting there. Oh, they're throwing blame. What are the solutions? What are the sustainable solutions? What are the solutions that will cause us not to be having this conversation again as we'll be coming through that airport by Wednesday or later? Will my own plane to have to power the airport and go different place, go to Sierra Leone and go back, or go to Arago and go back? The other day I was coming to Liberia. My son was worried about me. Our flight, Royal Air Morocco, had to avoid that runway 3 times before we could land. 3 times before we could land. The guy came to land, no way to land, no good visibility because of the poor lighting. He had to bypass and go around, come back again, try to land because it was raining small, just small weather condition. Come back again. He got to bypass and go come back. The third time before the guy finally land, everybody in the plane start clapping. And if any of you on this live here or come across the live and you're part of that experience, just let me know. It was 2001 or something like that. 2001 or 2002 because I'm there every year. You know, miss the guy had to divert that flight from landing 3 times before we could land it. What's stopping us to have multiple runways on that at the RIA? My people, some of you become look at Richard Kuhn. Richard Kuhn became speaker in less than 3 months. The man broke down a whole house. He built a multi-million dollar complex to go move in. RIA been saying that we just get a pitiful one runway when there's so much land space all along the Smyrnotis direction. We got a beachfront Smyrnotis area, that whole big space that RIA has. What's stopping us to build runways? Even if it means to say not quota, okay, you're so poor, we're so poor, we can put quota down. Even the concrete, I have gone to other airports, I see concrete. Solid concrete on the ground for airstrip where people landing their planes on solid concrete. What's stopping us from having 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 different runways right to that same spot? What's stopping us? It has to be that one place we got. Other got to come get down there. You got to where your friend can go up. Then before you can you land. Seriously. Then common thing like electricity. I say common because it's a necessity. It's a necessity. It's something that we must have for our country to be vibrant. But it's not there. At least you go to some of your houses now, Jeff. If you were in your house right now, President Broker in your house right now, or maybe someone else in the house right now, and they say, "Oh, current gone," you put a generator on. They say, "Oh, generator break down." You put a solar panel light on. You switch to the solar panel, but you come to the RIA. People want generator to run because they want to steal money on the fuel, the purchasing, the fuel they're procuring. They want to steal money on generator repair. So no lasting solution. Can we build our own dam on Farmington River? Say we want to use Firestone. Can we build our own dam on Farmington River and then supply current to another good number of Liberians in the same token? Are you kidding me? I want to wait for LEC wire to run from where we're playing. Come to reach RIA. Where somebody can get there and go cut the wire somewhere in the bush, and then it can reach, then the current can reach to RIA. Then we say, like, the country, we interesting people. Why would cost us support a solar farm? That, and like I said, it doesn't have to be a solar farm that will run very high capacity equipment. No, that would just run the bare minimum as the emergency last resort. Simple. Can we do that? Please, man, Gafwan, can we do that? Gafwan, can we do that? Can we put money in our budget? Normally, Lawrence, can we put money in our budget? Jeff, Councilor Jeff Onatikofa, can we put money in our budget? Because I know the renegade regime speaker is going to be kicked out of there pretty soon. So can we put money in our budget? American, all the argument were coming from you 2022. Can we put money in our budget and put a solar farm down there that has the capacity for emergency lighting of the airport? Don't run major high power stuff, but just the bare minimum as a last resort. And I want to leave you on that. I got to go back to work. And I want to say, thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of your day. See you.